This video podcast is brought to you by McCarter Online.
You touched on this earlier, that one of the themes that you explore kind of intensely in this play are issues about identity, how people control their own image, how they shape their own image. And in the play, just about every character at some point in his or her life has changed his or her name. So, Brother Rashid was Kennard Jenkins, and Muhammad Ali was Cassius Clay, Stepin Fetchit was Lincoln Perry. You have also, at least publicly, you have an alias.
I need to change it legally, that's what I need.
Can you talk about why, I'm interested, because you and I have actually never had this conversation. I'm interested in your name, but I'm also interested in how those names are, what they do for people in terms of defining themselves.
You know what, that's a real interesting question. For me, growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was, a really beautiful place, a lot of violence though, a lot of crime and just beautiful, a lot of culture, a lot of richness of culture, but also just a lot of just drama. You know what I mean? And so I think growing up, when I was like 14, 15 in drama classes, started to be a rapper, it was kind of something to do. I think that, you took on other personas in the neighborhood. And looking back on it, I think maybe that's part of, defining, redefining yourself. I never thought about it. You know what I mean? Like you're in a situation, you're poor, things are going on, so you call yourself, MC Sensational. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm sensational. You know what I mean? And I think it's a way of kind of using the power of words to try to put different energy in there and manifest it, These days when you hear rappers talking about how much money they have and that kind of stuff, it's more literal because someone like a Jay-Z or something like that really does have the things he's talking about. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's different. But back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, when a rapper was saying, I got 20 cars, he's like, I got 20 cars. You know what I mean? You live on the 5th floor, But the point was, how can you poetically talk about the things that we all know you don't have? And there was a power in that. You know what I mean? Like, we all know we're poor, but this guy, he can poetically talk about these material things, and there's a power in that. It's almost like projection. You know what I mean? My name was always William. I had a different last name. My name, well, it doesn't matter what name was. But, I started off rhyming, in the early 80s, early mid 80s. And my first rap name was Wonderful Will. So I was like, I'm Wonderful Will, and that was it, And, after a couple years, there was a real good friend of mine who I used to be in a rap group with. His father was kind of an Afrocentric, kind of wise guru. He was kind of walk around the neighborhood with a stick, you know what I mean? Give you, advice and wisdom. Real kind of powerful mental guy. And he was like, brother, you should be willpower. You know what I mean? That's what he said. And I was like, I'm Wonderful Will, man. Wonderful. He's like, no, think about it. Willpower, brother. Willpower. And so after a while, that kind of just became my name. But it's interesting you bring that up because, like what you said, almost I think just about every character has changed their name in this piece. But they struggle with that. And it's interesting because, I've been meaning to change my name legally. And so my last name was Wiley, And I was going to change it to Power. And my father called me and was like, don't change the name. You know what I mean? I heard you would change the name. And I was like, yeah, it was really deep. I never thought, so it's kind of making me hesitate. You know what I mean? Like, I am willpower publicly as far as creatively, but now it's making me hesitate. I was like, Wiley was your stepfather. You know what I mean? I told my father's stepfather, I was like, you didn't even like him. He's like, forget him. He's like, boy, don't change the name till I'm dead and gone. That's what he said. I was like, man. So now I'm kind of hesitating a little bit. You know what I mean? Because there's power in that name. So anyway, but that's kind of what it was, I think. That's kind of what it was.
This podcast has been brought to you by McCarter Theater in Princeton, New Jersey. For tickets, call 609-258-ARTS or visit www.mccarter.org.